basketball legend Shaq has finally spoken out about the Caitlin Clark story that has taken the sports world by storm. When Caitlin Clark was named Time Magazine's Athlete of the Year for 2024, the news dominated headlines across the basketball community and beyond. The story was so big that it caught the attention of not just sports outlets, but even political commentators. It seemed out of character for Shaq to stay silent during all the buzz, but the outspoken big man has now shared his thoughts on this historic moment in basketball. Let's take a step back to understand Shaq's perspective. After wrapping up one of the most dominant NBA careers in history, Shaquille O'Neal transitioned to a role in sports media. In this phase, he became known for his sharp criticism and blunt opinions, often taking shots at current players. Shaq himself admits to being a self-proclaimed hater at times, and Caitlin Clark was no exception. Early in her career, Shaq was vocal about his skepticism of the young WNBA star who was rapidly rising to prominence. Part of this negativity might stem from Shaq's close relationship with Angel Reese, another rising basketball star. Reese, who has been a rival of Caitlin Clark since their college days, is now a key player for the Chicago Sky. The rivalry between Clark and Reese has become one of the most talked-about narratives in the WNBA, adding even more intrigue to Shaq's evolving opinion of Clark. Shaquille O'Neal found it difficult to fully embrace Caitlin Clark's success, largely because of his close mentorship of Angel Reese. Shaq has always championed Reese as the WNBA's next superstar, making it natural for him to stay silent during Caitlin Clark's extraordinary rookie season. While Clark was dominating the league with a historic first year, Shaq continued to focus on supporting Reese's promising career. However, Caitlin Clark's rise to stardom became impossible to ignore. She shattered records, delivered jaw-dropping highlights, and single-handedly turned her team into a winning powerhouse, transforming the franchise in ways never seen before. Her incredible achievements reached their peak when she was named Time Magazine's Athlete of the Year at the end of the year. This monumental recognition finally compelled Shaq to break his silence and share his thoughts on Caitlin Clark. During an interview with TMZ, Shaq said, "Congratulations to her. She's a fabulous player." He begins his remarks with a standard pleasantry, extending congratulations to Caitlin Clark. He follows this up with a compliment, calling her a fabulous player, a straightforward acknowledgement of her remarkable achievements. However, what Shaq says next is where his true stance becomes more apparent. It subtly highlights the bias that basketball fans have come to associate with him. By now, Caitlin, my girl Angel, definitely brought a lot of publicity to the WNBA. In an unexpected twist, Shaquille O'Neal managed to turn Caitlin Clark's well-earned individual achievement into something she had to share with Angel Reese yet again. Shaq's favoritism toward Angel Reese has always been evident, but his use of the phrase "my girl" when talking about Reese made his bias unmistakable. By framing it this way, Shaq implied that the recent surge in WNBA publicity was equally driven by both Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese. The reality, however, tells a different story. The numbers clearly show a significant gap in the attention the two players bring to the league. Ticket sales for games featuring the Indiana Fever, where Caitlin Clark plays, far surpass those of the Chicago Sky, Angel Reese's team. Caitlin Clark is undeniably the primary force behind the WNBA's growing popularity, while Angel Reese benefits from the momentum that Clark has created. Shaq didn't stop there. After diminishing Clark's individual spotlight by attributing it to both players, he went on to include other WNBA players in the conversation, further diluting the recognition Clark rightfully deserves. But we can't forget all the other WNBA greats. Asia, Sabrina Teresi, all the women that's playing great. They're finally getting the credit that they deserve. It's surprising how defensive some people have become over Caitlin Clark being named Time Magazine's Athlete of the Year. Let's be real, there weren't many other contenders who could match what Clark accomplished this year. No one else captured the cultural spotlight or transformed the sports landscape quite like she did. Thanks to her, more people are finally learning about other WNBA players who have been great for years. Even Shaq acknowledged this when he listed their names, noting they're finally getting the credit they deserve. That's what makes Shaq's statement so puzzling. He acts as if society has forgotten every other WNBA star in favor of Caitlin Clark. But the reality is quite the opposite. Clark's impact is bringing more attention to the league and its players. Some commentators, including Shaq, suggest that her success somehow overshadows others. In truth, it's elevating everyone by drawing more eyes to the WNBA as a whole. Caitlin Clark herself has gone out of her way to shine a light on other women's basketball players. During her acceptance of the Time magazine honor, she emphasized the greatness of other WNBA players, particularly black players, and paid tribute to the history of women's basketball. She didn't have to do that, but she chose to redirect the spotlight, showcasing her humility and leadership. The narrative that Clark's success harms the league or other players couldn't be further from the truth. The WNBA is fortunate to have her as its face. In an unexpected twist, Shaq doubled down on his argument by comparing the WNBA to the men's game, claiming the women's players are better. While his intent may have been to support the WNBA, his comments ended up adding more confusion to an already heated discussion. Play much harder than the men, play better than the men. That's a beautiful game to watch. Shaq's take on this is surprising, especially coming from a former NBA legend known for valuing the physicality and athleticism of the game. On the surface, his statement sounds almost unbelievable. It's rare to hear someone make such a bold comparison between the men's and women's games. Historically, viewership ratings and general perception have favored men's basketball as the more entertaining product. Could Caitlin Clark's brilliance be so impactful that it's completely shifted Shaq's perspective on the two leagues? At the same time, it's hard not to wonder if Shaq made these comments just to spark controversy. In other parts of the interview, he openly admitted that he enjoys stirring things up. Shaq has always been a dominant figure in basketball media, and his knack for creating headlines keeps him in the spotlight. Few things grab attention quite like a controversial opinion, and Shaq knows exactly how to play that game. I stirred some controversy, but it wasn't really controversy. I am a revenue-driven person, Shaq said. Claiming that the WNBA is more enjoyable to watch than the NBA is undoubtedly controversial. It's hard to believe Shaq genuinely holds this opinion, especially considering that in the same interview he offered critiques on how to improve the WNBA's appeal. One of his suggestions was to lower the rim, allowing WNBA players to perform more like their NBA counterparts. When you watch women's volleyball, beach volleyball, and men's beach volleyball, the net is lowered. Not a significant amount, but just a little bit. So, if you lower the rim a little bit to where the ladies can dunk, then our games would be similar. It'd make much more money for them. And then they could start getting the salaries that they deserve, because the salaries they're getting now are just terrible. Shaq suggests lowering the rim, which ironically benefits Angel Reese far more than it would Caitlin Clark. Reese spends most of her time under the basket, relying on close-range opportunities to score. However, her efficiency in finishing even the simplest layups is inconsistent. A lower rim would make scoring easier for Reese, whose game doesn't depend on long-range shooting. Caitlin Clark, on the other hand, is renowned for her limitless shooting range. She's made a name for herself by sinking shots from distances even NBA players would hesitate to attempt. The WNBA's three-point line is already closer to the basket than the NBA's, but Clark often shoots from well beyond it. She doesn't need any modifications to dominate the game, unlike Reese, whose play style would be significantly boosted by Shaq's suggestion. This raises the question, could Shaq's idea be more about advocating for Reese than improving the league as a whole? Shaq has a knack for stirring controversy, often drawing attention to his opinions. He's previously appeared on Angel Reese's podcast, Unapologetically Angel, where he didn't shy away from praising Caitlin Clark, even in front of Reese. This moment might have been awkward for Reese, considering the praise was directed at her biggest rival. Yet it's rare and noteworthy when Shaq offers unfiltered praise, especially for a WNBA player, and even more so on the platform of someone he openly supports. During the podcast, Shaq compared Caitlin Clark's dominance to Steph Curry's, highlighting how both players have redefined the way their respective leagues are viewed. He emphasized that, like Curry, Clark has brought a new level of excitement and innovation to the game, driving interest and success for her league. Why do you think people love Caitlin Clark? Besides her skills, she can shoot threes from the logo. We never seen that before. That's my point. Steph Curry, he's like a little kid. I love Steph Curry because I've never seen that before. I've never seen that before. I've seen it a little bit in Muggsy Bogues, but I've never seen a guy consistently come down, and if you look at him, he ain't got the LeBron muscles. He's not 6 feet 9 inches. He's 6 feet 2 inches. He looks like a perfect, normal office guy. He's doing stuff that people have never seen before. She's doing stuff we never seen before. Never seen nobody do that on a consistent basis. Shaq's discussion offered plenty of fascinating insights. First, he acknowledged that Caitlin Clark is doing things no other WNBA player has ever done. Even Angel Reese had to admit this, though her response seemed dismissive, saying she can shoot threes from the logo. While that may sound reductive, it's genuinely an incredible skill and an absolute spectacle for fans. Mastering such a shot takes tremendous hard work and deserves recognition. Shaq understands that Clark's unique abilities are drawing new fans into WNBA arenas, something that Angel Reese, despite her talent, cannot replicate. Reese's reaction may even hint at jealousy, as her game doesn't include the kind of long-range efficiency Clark excels at. Shaq's comments make it clear Caitlin Clark is carrying much of the WNBA's rising popularity. Interestingly, Shaq's praise for Clark on Angel Reese's podcast wasn't even the highest compliment he's given her. In an interview with Sports Illustrated, Shaq openly raved about Clark's greatness. This interview coincided with a game between Caitlin Clark's Indiana Fever and Angel Reese's Chicago Sky, a matchup Shaq attended in person, likely to support Reese. However, what unfolded in that game seemed to change his perspective. Caitlin Clark put on a show, finishing with a career-high 31 points, including 5 three-pointers that Chicago simply couldn't defend. Her performance wasn't about padding stats, it was pure efficiency. She attempted just 14 field goals, making 8 of them, resulting in a stellar 57% shooting percentage. Clark's ability to hit long-range shots while maintaining such efficiency is remarkable. But Clark's dominance didn't stop with scoring. She completely dismantled Chicago's defense by involving her teammates, finishing the game with 12 assists. This marked her 5th game of the season with over 20 points and 10 assists, an all-time record for a single WNBA season, and she achieved it as a rookie. It's no wonder Shaq couldn't stay silent about her performance. Even if his support initially leaned toward Reese, Clark's historic night served as a reminder of why she's quickly becoming one of the greatest players in the league and why her rise is impossible to ignore. Here's what Shaq said in the interview. "Clark does everything right," Shaq said. "I never spoke about her before because Angel Reese is my girl, but I can truthfully say Caitlin Clark is for real. I'm watching her play, and I'm trying to be upset, but she makes the right pass, makes the right play. Girls try to beat her up, and she doesn't really complain. She's a great one." Even early on in her career, Shaq's recent comments offer a lot to unpack, especially when he openly admitted his bias in favor of Angel Reese. The moment he referred to Reese as "my girl" made it clear where his loyalty lies. Amusingly, Shaq also acknowledged that the rivalry between Reese and Caitlin Clark is very real, and that Reese is currently on the losing end of it. What stands out is how Shaq admitted that he tried to be upset with Caitlin Clark, but simply couldn't deny her greatness. It's rare for a media figure to confess they've been trying to dislike a specific player, let alone one as important to the WNBA as Caitlin Clark. The fact that it took this long for Shaq to openly recognize Clark as for real is almost comical, considering how many fans and analysts have already crowned her the league's next big star. Anyone who has watched Clark for more than a few minutes can see why she consistently makes the right play, delivers the perfect pass, and has a game sense that is unmatched. Shaq seemed particularly impressed by her toughness. Despite the extra physical attention and rookie hazing she faces from WNBA defenders, Clark responds with elite mental toughness on the court and pure class off it. While many other players in her position might complain about the treatment, Clark keeps her composure and lets her game do the talking. Shaq couldn't help but heap praise on her resilience and professionalism, which only adds to her growing legend. She's the real deal. Much respect to her and her family, and the way she grew up and the way she plays. All little girls should watch all the WNBA players play, but those two, Clark and Reese, are my favorites. Shaq's praise for Caitlin Clark goes beyond her incredible basketball skills. He seems to admire her character as well. He even complimented her family for raising her right, rare and meaningful sentiment from someone like Shaq. This isn't just the typical admiration from a fan. It's a deeper acknowledgement of who Caitlin Clark is as a person. Shaq also shared a heartfelt message, saying that every young girl looking for a role model should look to Caitlin Clark. Of course, Shaq couldn't help but bring up Angel Reese, his personal favorite. However, there's a clear contrast between the two. While Angel Reese has her own strengths, Caitlin Clark stands out as a truly exceptional role model for young athletes. The fact that Shaq, who has been Reese's biggest supporter, has now become a genuine fan of Clark speaks volumes about her transcendent greatness. It's no small feat to win over someone as opinionated as Shaq. Shaquille O'Neal's recent comments on Caitlin Clark's historic recognition as Time Magazine's Athlete of the Year reflect an evolving perspective. Initially skeptical, Shaq has gradually come to appreciate Clark's undeniable impact on the game, even while remaining loyal to Angel Reese. His journey from trying to dislike her to openly respecting her talents and character is a testament to Caitlin Clark's greatness. Love her or hate her, one thing is clear: Caitlin Clark is here to stay, and even Shaq can't ignore it anymore.